Welcome back, everybody, to Just Joking Podcast, or whatever we're going to end up naming this thing. Today is a very, very great day in the podcast world. We are here at Blue Couch Studio in Broken Arrow, a spot for local musicians, podcasters, artists of any sorts to come in and get some studio time. But today, man, today, we got a local legend, if I may say, a great in the game here in comedy, and someone who I cannot stop hearing about at the Looney Bin, to the point where I was just about ready to shoot him some hate mail. No, I'm just joking. We got Evan Hughes.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
man.
The opportunity to be here with you.
Yeah, man. It's freaking great. It's great. I wish I had my questions just ready to rock and roll, but I would like to say that, I work at the Looney Bin, and I think you hosted a mental awareness show recently?
I did, yeah. It was just a couple of weeks ago. We did a mental health awareness benefit show.
Yeah.
So we raised quite a bit of money, and it was all local comics on the lineup. We brought a pretty good crowd. I think it was a Sunday night even.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah, I was at a comedy club that night, and I heard Lynn Kay was there, wasn't she?
Yeah, Lynn Kay. She did a fantastic job. We had a lot of good comics on that. We had Sandra Slade and Lacey Rains and some others. It was a really good lineup. Yeah,
Lynn Kay. We started the same day. We kind of like became like comic. Like we married pretty much. We got married.
Yeah.
I might as well say it. I'll just come out. All right, I'm married to Lynn Kay. It's whatever.
Dude, that's one of the really cool things about stand-up is I started like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm still like brother and sister, which is kind of like a marriage, in Arkansas. But like those become your people, and like being able to watch over the years. Like I remember like the class of comics that came in like 3 years ago, and the ones that started right on either the same day or the same week are like married. Dude, I'd love to see it.
Class of comics, dude. That's a really cool.
It's like a clown college,
Yeah, it is, man. It is. What's the graduation like?
I think it's really just like doing the first set.
Yeah.
You're doing your first set is when you graduate, and just when you keep doing it with those people, if you only do it once, you might not have that relationship with them. But when you see those friends come to that next mic with you, that's when it's like, oh yeah, we met at the first one, and then you're doing it again, and after that you're pretty much locked in.
Dude, it's really cool to be a part of the community. Like growing up, I didn't play sports very often or very much. I only played for a year, so I never really got like that team feeling, very much. And I had no brothers or anything like that. I lived with just one sister, so having like I know it's a weird way to point that out, but having like a community where I see the same people every week, and we get to become friends, build relationships, and cheer each other on. It's like a really fulfilling feeling. I meant to say feeling. There we go. Feeling.
Yeah,
you should use the 2 E's in that. That's how you speak, by the way. Use the letters given in the word. It's very interesting. Do you remember who you was there on your first open mic?
Oh my gosh! So I actually was in they had a comedy class at the Looney Bin back then. They may still have one, but this was taught by a different person.
Now.
Yeah, it discontinued. But that was as everybody that was in that class and that was also starting out around that time. There was people around the scene that were just starting out that weren't in the class, but they were still like that was the same. They'd recognize me when I'd come out that I was another new person like they were.
Yeah.
But that's one of my favorite parts about comedy is that like camaraderie, that comedy roddery.
The comedy roddery, baby.
And it's just that feeling of like, being off stage with some people and, all right, you're going to go up soon. Like, you got this, and then they're saying the same thing for you, or you're saying it to them, just cheering each other on. Same thing in sports, it's like, all right, go get them, and then you see, watching them do really well, and you're just like so happy for them, and then they're watching you do well, and they're so happy for you, and it's just like, I had a show last night with just one other comic, and I know for a fact we both had that same feeling. Like, I could see him out in the crowd, like, smile on his face, like, laughing for me, and I was the same way for him, and it wasn't fake. It was like he was funny as hell.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of him watching him, and it was just like, I'm sure that happens in sports, and that definitely happens in comedy.
So what got you, I didn't necessarily into comedy, because public speaking is like the number one fear in I think the world. Like, people would rather kill themselves than do public speaking. Like,
Well,
seriously.
I think it
Death
goes.
is like 3, by the way, and then number 1 is public speaking, which I don't understand at all. But
Well, I think it goes hand in hand. I mean, if you're at a place where you want to kill yourself or you've thought about it a lot, I think it makes doing stand-up seem a lot less scary.
yeah,
You know, it's like
that's a
almost
good point.
like,
That's a good point.
yeah, if the other stuff on that list isn't even your fear, like most of the people that do comedy would probably be okay with dying.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, what fears do they have? It's a lot of
Exactly.
fearless people that don't give a shit about anything.
Exactly.
So if you're at that point where you're like, I don't even want to be here, I don't want to be alive, why not do stand up? So you don't want to be alive, but you don't want to do a set.
Mm-hmm.
You know why?
Probably shouldn't have said kill yourself after a mental health awareness show, but
Oh right, and I did kind of joke about that on the show too. But I made like light of suicide a little bit, but
Yeah.
I just felt like everybody in the room would understand. You know that
Mm-hmm.
it was, and there was a dude that was at that show too that came up to me, like mid show. We met in the lobby because I think we were both gonna go to the restroom at the same time, and he pulled out like $60 more to give me and was just like thanking me so much for doing the show. But like you could tell, like looking at his face, I was like, oh, this guy's seen some shit.
oh no,
You know, and that's where this money's coming from. You know, like he's either in it right now in that bad mental health place, or he's been there before, one way or another. But that's the thing too, is like people in comedy, we can all joke about really dark things because we're either living in it or we used to live in it.
no doubt. That's definitely a big thing about comedy for sure. And I like to putting the light in the dark, you know, shining the light, you know, and seeing what's over there. Because if you just act like you're trying to ignore it, then it's just going to become worse. So why not talk about it and express it and how you feel about it? Because somebody's going to resonate with it, just like that guy obviously resonated with what you were saying because he wanted to come talk to you and donate some more money to the cause. That's really cool. To switch it up a little bit, can you tell me about that Twin Peaks joke you got? Have you talked about this before? I'm sure you have.
Wait a second, which was the Twin Peaks joke?
Twin Peaks. It's you said a joke, right, where your buddy, you're at Twin Peaks and your buddy was getting hit on, and the girl said that he looked like a character from The Walking Dead.
Oh my god, dude, that joke is from like 8 years ago.
Yeah, is that one of your first? You think?
I'm amazed that I don't even know how you know about that joke, but I haven't done that joke in probably like 8 years, dude.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of the TV show Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah,
Which you might not have seen that show.
About it.
But that's why I was like, I thought that was going to be a joke from someone else's set, and it was like mistaken identity. But that was my joke. That was one of my early jokes that I felt like established me in Tulsa, which seems funny to say, but like I don't know if every comic feels like that, but I definitely felt like, you know, coming to mics and stuff, like you want to have like a joke that is kind of impactful in some way that like lets people know what you're about or something like that. I don't know. I've never really talked about that joke before.
Yeah, I think there was another variation. You said like, I feel like The Walking Dead right now, you know?
Yeah.
Then,
it was a really self-deprecating joke about my looks, and I think it was the most self-deprecating joke I had done at that point, which is interesting because some people will start doing stand-up, and their stand-up is just kind of ripping on people, where it's sort of like they can get on stage and you'd be like, man, aren't these handicapped people annoying, or I hate when women do this, or I hate when, you know, they're like punching down. But like when you really like hit on yourself, you know, when you're like, hey,
look in the mirror all the time.
Who
I'm
the
like,
hell am I?
You're sexy. I look in the mirror. I'm like, you're sexy. You know, stop hitting on me. I get all blushing. I'll put my hair back and whatever. No.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, but there's levels to it too, where
There is.
it's like there's comics that are willing to make fun of themselves, but like how far like are you willing? How deep are you willing to cut into yourself?
Yeah.
You know, and I felt like that joke at that time was the most self-deprecating joke I had done yet, and it had such a big response that I felt like it opened up this kind of like, yeah, this is what we do. Like being self-deprecating is going to be my act.
So was that the seed to your style right there?
Honestly, it was, and that's crazy because nobody has ever asked me about that joke before. I don't think because I didn't do it enough. I mean,
Blue Couch Studio, we different over here. We
You did
different,
it.
boy. We come with the information. I'm sorry.
No, that was great. I did that joke on maybe like 6 shows or something like that, but it did really like help launch my style. I think, you know, like a band that would have like they wrote a hard rock song, and then that kind of became like we're gonna play hard rock music. That was kind of like that for me.
Yeah. Did you actually go in there and tell that waitress you wrote a joke about her? Like, does that really happen?
Yes.
Wow,
that all really happened.
Hilarious. Yeah. That in itself is so funny. Going back and be like, hey, I wrote a joke about you. I think number.
I think no.
Damn, dang it, dude.
I think that goes into like the awkwardness of stand up and just how awkward we are as people. Mm-hmm. Like that we are awkward on stage and then we're awkward in real life, and awkward has really been my brand, you know. But it wasn't a situation where like, you know, I usually don't have a problem with things like that. You know, it depends on how comfortable you are with what you say, mm-hmm. you know, to people. Like if you're real comfortable and it's like, it's not weird, then that usually puts people at ease. But if you seem like, oh, I don't know if I should be saying this, then like you're going to make them uncomfortable.
Wow. So if you come off with the energy like you actually feel like, I don't know if I should be saying this, then the crowd's going to feel that right back. And they're like, I don't know if you should say it either. Like,
totally. We saw a comic named Rory Scovel. He headlined Blue Whale Comedy Festival or one of the nights. And just that's how I would describe his set, was he went so far into stuff that should have been making us all uncomfortable, but he had such a way about him that he put you at ease. He kind of came across like he had this like Mr. Rogers as a sex therapist like energy, you know, but he was just like, he's so chill about it. He's like, yeah, I watch, you know, threesomes online. It's not weird, dude. You know, like it'd be weird if you didn't, you know? And it just, he set the energy, you know? And I think when you don't do that and it's like, you don't even seem comfortable talking about this. Like, I'm going to feel uncomfortable. You don't look comfortable, you know?
That's a good point. What was I going to ask you right here? Yeah. You said I can ask you a weird question, so I do kind of want to ask you a weird question. I was talking about you to Tony yesterday. Tony at the Looney Bin.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Yes. If Tony said it, it's true.
You sure? Tony talks a lot. He says some crazy stuff.
Okay,
sometimes I start wondering if he's telling the truth or just, you know, trying to get a laugh. But is it true that when you came into Looney Bin and you were doing your early comedy, that he took you out and helped you lose your virginity or something like that?
Oh my gosh.
Can I say what else did he say? He said once you lost your virginity, you walked back in there like strutting, like everything had changed, kind of.
I think he's using that more as like a euphemism.
Okay.
You know, like he's like, I had to take him under my wing a little bit and show him a few things.
That's what the older
like
folks
it wasn't
say.
like exactly like, you know, he took me to a
he was like, hey, listen, 7 p.m. I got a girl coming to your house.
Yeah.
Be ready.
No, it was not like that, but I know what he means. I mean, when I showed up, I think I was truly a different person. And I've noticed that in many comics since then. I mean, I've been doing this for 8 years, and I've seen a lot of people start doing stand-up, and I met them at their first mic, and then you hang out with them for 6 months, and they're not the same person anymore. Not that they're like a worse person or always like a better person, but it's just different. Like, it's almost hard to see the world the same way post doing a lot of stand-up. It's like you're more aware of how people are taking you, and everything is sort of like, you know, the room. Even sometimes in one-on-one conversations, you still have those kind of like, you have that comedy thing going on in your head. Like,
yeah, you do.
You know, am I bombing? Am I talking too much? You know, or is anyone laughing? You know, it's like you have that between comics. And you told me that you've worked at the Looney Bin for like 6 months now. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question.
Of course, man.
Do you feel like you could walk into the Looney Bin and say there's 75 people there? Do you think you could point out, without knowing what they look like, who the comics are for the week?
I think I'd get at least one of the three or two of the three. You can tell.
Right? But only you could. Regular people can't do that. It's like, how long have you been around comedy? I've had that. I could walk in the Looney Bin, and I would put some money down that I could pick out the comics. Just show me everybody in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you know,
it's how they're carrying themselves. Yeah. It's a lot of things. I when I was not even that new into comedy, but I'd been doing it for a little while, and I was at the Looney Bin at the merch table, and I was like, I'll take a shirt. You know, and he was like, he looked at me, and he was like, you a comic? Like, it was just like, and I was like, yeah. And he was like, and he gave me like, you know, half price comic discount. But it was just like, that doesn't happen to everybody in his line. Comics can tell other comics, and that just something changes about you.
I feel like I even feel weird saying we're, like, I'm so young into the comedy career. I think we're just all, we have a different thing about us, like, in a sense, like, we're just, there's a reason we're doing comedy. There's a reason that we want to go up on stage, and we get that almost an addiction to go up there and make people laugh and be in the energy where everybody's laughing and you're part of that space. There's something just different about us, you know, because most people, they go to that 9 to 5, they go home, they see their wife, they have a beer with the kid, you know. People my age don't do that. They're not really married or have kids. But, you know, what I think most people that come to comedy shows are doing, you know, they're like, okay, we got a night off, we've got a babysitter. And we're just like, dude, I got all the free time in the world. I want to write jokes. I want to go on stage. There's just something different about us in that sense. And I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. It doesn't really matter.
Well, it's like people that are nurses, there's a reason why they're a nurse. If someone's a baker, there's a reason why they're a baker. If someone's a musician, there's a reason why we're comics. It's like true. We have that thing. Yeah. You know, whatever that is.
Do you believe in God? You religious?
I think I'm more agnostic, where it's that kind of like, I don't know, you know, but I'm not 100% saying there's not, you know, like, I mean, I'm not a religious person, but like
putting your chips on, like, well, if there is one, I'd love to go. So, you know, let's push some chips that direction too.
Yeah. I think the older I get, the more I'm like, you know, when I was younger, I was definitely like 100% atheist, where I was very much like, God is a lie. You know, I was into death metal and stuff when I was a teenager.
I feel like I could see you having like a long-winded debate on like why you don't believe in God.
I just don't think it's not that I kind of don't care. You know, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant, because I try to live the best life I can no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, if at the end of this life I die and then I have to burn for eternity because I didn't go to church, then like, well, fuck it. But
what would you like to come back as? I think I'll come back as like a butterfly or something.
Anything but a human.
I don't know, dude. I saw a cow in like a trailer on the way here, which is insane. We're in the middle of a town, and I would not want to be that cow.
It's like, you wonder what they did in another life to have to get that punishment.
For real. You know? Probably some
that was probably
stuff.
Hitler.
That was Hitler himself, dude. And the one that was slipping on all the shit, that was Hitler. Just slipping
that
and falling.
Little cow mustache.
Yeah, dude. Just a little brown right here.
Yeah.
No doubt. No. What would you want to be, though, besides a human?
Dude, like a cat.
I could see that, dude. I could have guessed that, honestly. I was thinking tiger, though. Would you think
tiger?
Or are you more of a house cat?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I just don't want to be like how it was in Tiger King. I don't want some fucking crazy redneck.
Imagine you come back as a tiger. You're all freaking just. I couldn't figure out a word, but you're just running. You know all that. Okay, I'm done. I can't talk. I'm trying to think of some crazy questions to ask you, because you are right. You've had a lot of interviews. How's fame treating you, man? Do you have to like wear disguises in public, or do you embrace the attention?
Man, it's just local, you know. For one thing, it's Tulsa.
Hey man, don't doubt.
And it's not LA, you know. It's not New York. I can't even imagine what that would be like, where there'd be like all of these fucking strangers. I mean, and people here are so nice. I mean, I think that's what makes it so different too. Is like, you know, in a big city, you could be famous, but not everybody there is like as nice of a person. No. Where it's like there's people that probably like, you know, hated your movie or hate you, or they saw an article about you. They don't even know you, but they think you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that in Tulsa. Like, I don't have haters. You know, like people here are just like, usually what happens if I don't know them is they'll just say they've heard about me and they heard good things and they're excited to meet me. You know, like that's all it is. And like, I would never want that to go away from my life. I love that.
It's the exact conversation we had, I think, when you walked in.
It's
heard great things about you. I'm so excited to meet you.
It's the best. Yeah. How could I can't imagine anyone not liking that. I mean, I love it.
Cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah.
What scene would you like, if you were to ever leave Tulsa to pursue like the next kind of step in comedy? What scene would you want to go to?
Dude, I can't even think that far ahead, honestly. Like, I truly can't imagine leaving Tulsa. I've had a lot of friends, and even my partner like left Tulsa before and then came back. Like, it's one of those places where, and it's changing too. Like, I don't feel like Tulsa is going to be exactly like this 5 years from now or 10 years from now. Mm-hmm. So I think even if we stay here, it's not that it's going to stay the same. Yeah. You know, it's not going to be the same. So things are going to be moving and changing, even as we don't physically move. And I don't want to miss out on those changes either. Like, I don't want to go, you know, start over somewhere else and then see everything like, you know, go up here.
You're into death metal, which is crazy, right? Because remember earlier how you said if you walk into a room, you could point out the comics?
Yeah.
If I had like 3 options, I had rap, No, 4 options, sorry. Rap, country, metal, and jazz. I'm putting you in the jazz. Like, you seem like a
Really?
really jazzy type guy.
I'm actually rap and death metal.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. What kind of rap are you into? Because that's more my alley than death metal.
I like rap from all the different coasts. I like Southern rap. I like West Coast rap. I like
Okay.
East Coast rap. More older stuff. I mean, now kind of everything is still trap. You know,
It is.
we're in like 20 years of trap music.
It hasn't really evolved much. It's kind of gotten a little. I feel like personally, it's gotten a little worse. It's gotten less about the words they're saying, more about the noises. It's kind of, when it got real mumbly, it's like the beat's nice. There's a cool background noises, but what is this guy even saying right now?
Yeah, the lyrics are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the Tupac and Biggie era.
There you go.
So I mean, I don't know. I could list a bunch of rappers, but I really like UGK and 8 Ball and MJG and all that, like 3-6 Mafia, all that Southern stuff, and then West Coast, like Mac Dre and Too Short and Mac Mall and San Quinn and Andre Nicotina. And East Coast, I mean, I grew up during the Wu-Tang Clan, explosion too, and I like Mos Def and all those people.
I grew up during like
Nas,
during
Jay-Z.
the economic collapse of 2008.
Oh my God.
That's kind of how I grew up a little bit. I was driving here and my girlfriend was playing her playlist, dude, and Ice Cube came on.
Yeah.
I like slammed on my brakes. I'm like, who have you been hanging out with? She's like, I love this song. It starts rapping. I'm like, holy.
And and Ice Cube had a couple good albums, and obviously he was part of NWA, and then his movies in the beginning were really, really good. I mean, Friday is one of my favorite movies ever.
Oh, like, are we there yet? Stuff like that?
No, he did a movie called Friday with Chris Tucker. And Chris Tucker actually came to the Looney Bin, I think, in 2014.
No kidding.
Right before I started.
Wow.
Well, not right before I started, but like I started going to the Looney Bin for a little bit before I actually like enrolled in the comedy class. I was going to watch shows, and Chris Tucker was already a framed picture on the wall from his show there. Like it happened like right before I started coming to the bin.
Oh, I understand.
But I would have loved to see him. But I ended up talking to a lot of my friends that went, and they said he pretty much didn't want to really meet any of the fans or anything like that. He just kind of wanted to be snuck in and out the back. So it wasn't like how it is where they come set up a merch table and everybody comes shakes hands. They were like, he didn't want to see or talk to anybody.
Well, I feel like somebody that big of a name would be interesting because everybody saw Friday. Everybody saw that movie.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it and I don't know much about it, but I'm sure everybody would want to flock to him and just questions on questions on questions. And did they have phones back in 2014? Right?
I don't remember.
I don't either, dude. If I was like 12 in 2014. Literally, yeah.
Wow.
I was 12. I'm a youngin', man. I'm a youngin'. I'm just trying to soak in all this information.
Yeah, no, there were phones. They just weren't as cool as they are now.
Or the flip ones.
Yeah,
I love those, man. When you get angry, you can just. This is the greatest thing in the world. I literally had that for like 2 months. I took out the SIM from my iPhone and put it in a flip, and I was enjoying life.
Well, if you have enough money, you can smash an expensive phone too.
That's true. Mad. That's true.
You know.
Do you have that fuck you phone money?
No.
That Joe Rogan fuck you money. That's hilarious. What? That's such a good question, man. Oh yeah. What's your favorite comedian? Like,
that's a good question.
Idol?
I really like everybody. I mean, there's some styles that aren't my style, but I think truly from doing stand up, I respect everybody and everybody's style. I mean, you really can't do an hour at the BOK Center and not have jokes, and there's like no reason why you're there. Exactly. Everybody in comedy really earns their spot. I think even more so than in music. There's people that are, someone in music, but it's there's auto-tune, there's people writing their songs. They don't even sound like that. They're not even writing the lyrics. They are doing nothing.
Yeah.
But in stand-up, you really can't do that.
You can't
you can't write everyone's entire set and then have them go out there and do it where it'll still be really good. There's comics that obviously they have ghostwriters and stuff like that, but there was probably a time where they didn't, and they've just, now that they've made it, they're kind of lazy about writing jokes, or maybe they've kind of hit a writer's block and they're getting help, but they still know how to perform.
They kind of just want to coast now.
You can't have no talent.
No. You can't fake it, man. You can't go up there with all eyes on you and grow as a comedian by faking it at all. There's no like this. Like, you know what I mean? Like you said, you can't get an hour to be okay and not be a funny person.
And it's
no matter
ridiculous
what your style is.
to see like YouTube comments where someone will be like, "This person's not funny," and they are literally performing on the Tonight Show. It's like, yeah, I'm sure they're not funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just found them on the street and they were like, "Hey, do you want to do 5 minutes on Fallon tonight?" And the whole studio audience is laughing, but you're in the YouTube comments like, "This guy isn't funny."
Would you like to do a segment I did on my first podcast where we read comments that we've gotten, like kind of like
Sure.
we react? Do you have some on your phone you could pull up?
Like just bad comment sections?
Yeah, or good, bad or good. I mean, if you don't have it, it's okay. I just
that might take up too
you're
much
right.
time.
I should have.
If I was prepared to do that.
Yeah, that's my bad. I should have just brought them. Been like, so is it true that on 2014 you left this comment or something? I don't know.
Oh my god.
No.
Yeah, I try really hard to not look at comment sections because it's just insane.
It is.
Like I've seen comments like that posted on successful comics pages where I've seen that comic live, and I mean not that even. I know they're funny.
Yeah,
they are funny.
Exactly.
You know, and just seeing someone say that someone's not good, which is actually very common in comment sections for successful comedians. I don't know if you really know that or not, but there was a comic that came here, and she's blowing up, and she was telling me that she gets. I mean, this is a woman doing comedy. There'll be men even DMing her that she's not funny, and she's funny as fuck.
That's crazy.
You know.
I don't know why people go out of their way to just.
She's not blowing up for no reason. Yeah, but that's just how some people are. It's weird. I mean, there's some of it might just be trolling, but I think some people like truly believe it. They truly believe that person that's having success in comedy is not funny.
It's got to be some sort of envy. Like, how is this person getting paid to tell jokes when I sit over here and I work hard and I tell jokes to my friends and they're funny? They got to have some angle that's just. It's just so weird.
And it's not people
if they truly
that
believe it,
Yeah, and it never comes from people that are successful in comedy themselves. It's not like there's a big comic that's going to be on the internet saying this other comic is not funny. Mm-hmm. It's always someone that has never done comedy before or isn't any good at doing comedy. Yeah,
I had a comment. Some guy said, seriously not funny, comma, 3 spaces. Like, dude had a spasm in the middle of his comment, but he was like, if you have to use your note cards on a set, not funny. Just pretty much bashing me like that. And then I had like random people come to my defense. They're like, you would piss yourself if you had to get on stage and stuff like this. I was like, dang, man.
When you're new, I mean, I think using your phone is okay when you're new. You know, we're using cards or notes or whatever, and I think the longer you do it, you shouldn't use them.
No, definitely.
We've all cheated a little bit, though. I mean, I've seen even what I would consider very successful comics come to Tulsa and use notes like a little bit. It just depends on how new the material is, and they're good enough to still be having an incredible set and take a look at some notes.
The headliner last night, I forgot his name. Very funny guy. He brought his set list. But I don't know if that was part of if it was his own joke though. Because like he brought the set list and he put it down. I never saw him look at it. Maybe he had some new stuff at the beginning he wanted to do or something. But when you get to that level, making people laugh on every sentence is so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Every sentence was a punchline and then another punchline and another punchline. Like my style so far is kind of just like I like telling like stories about like my life and stuff. So there's a lot. I can notice there's a lot of like fat, maybe 2 or 3 sentences that aren't funny unless you think how I talk's funny or something like that. And what's your process on cutting down the fat out of that stuff, man?
Dude, that's the hardest part of comedy, I think, is the editing. It's the part that nobody wants to do. It's the most difficult part to look at something you've written and just admit that it's not good or like, I got to throw all this away or it's got to be better, And I think the people that have trouble with that, like I'm not looking down at them like, oh, you suck at editing, you got to get better, or like you won't admit that your stuff isn't good or whatever. It's just, it is the hardest part. I hope that anytime I'm talking about comedy, people are taking it as like I respect the art form and I understand what's hard about it. So I'm not looking down at anybody that's struggling and being like, oh, you should be doing better. It's like all the hard parts are fucking hard. It's just it's just difficult.
You have a true understanding about it though. 8 years in the game. At this point, you could have your own comedy class. Like, I know you feel like there's areas in your comedy where you can improve, but everybody feels that way. They'll always feel that way. I feel like you could definitely coach some people. You know how like a coach is like, you need to do the layup this way, and the reason why is because if you put your leg up, that helps block, and if you have your arm right here, it helps. Same thing with like, hey, if you go up there and you have 3 sentences, they don't get any laughs on this set, and it happens again. Look at that and see how you can change it. Just simple stuff like that.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that is something that comedy is subjective, and you get so many different answers from all different types of comics. I mean, it's not that, all the comics agree, the rule is, be funny, obviously, but people will disagree about, even all little things. Like people will say, oh, well, you shouldn't wear shorts, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't, you have to do it this way, have to do it that way. And, the truth is that, it might, sometimes be annoying, but you'll go somewhere and see a show and you'll see someone doing the thing that should be like a comedy rule not to do, and they'll be having success with it.
Interesting.
Like for somebody that works, you just have to find out what works for you. And that's why I think sometimes it's difficult to just only watch successful comics, which is pretty much what most people do before they kind of deep dive into stand up in real life, like themselves, like getting into it. Because when you're only watching Netflix specials and Amazon Prime specials and stuff like that, you're pretty much only ever seeing people having success. You're not seeing mistakes. Once you're doing a Netflix special, every shot is going in. That set is perfect.
Yep.
But when you watch it locally, you see mistakes and you see things that don't work. And often you learn more from that watching mistakes than you do watching everything go perfectly. Like, I didn't even really understand comedy when I was younger and watching George Carlin and stuff like that, because I was like, how the fuck does he go up there and perform an hour and every line works? Like, how does he even build that? Like, how is this possible? But comedy makes a lot more sense when you watch strikeouts and home runs and strikeouts and home runs. You'll kind of see like, okay, that doesn't really work. Trying to do that, don't do that. But then you'll see stuff where you're like, dude, that is what good comedy looks like.
Yeah,
on the same show.
When I watch my sets back, it's a lot of strikeouts, first base hit, strikeouts, fly ball, strike. You know what I mean?
And the fact that you can admit that is so. That's someone like that. Someone like you is going to get better. It's the people that are only striking out or hitting singles that think that everything was a home run. It's like they don't have any self-awareness. Like if you have that kind of like my friend Daniel, he's a newer comic.
Daniel Balderas?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And I love talking to him about it because he's so self-aware and he's so honest and he's so like, oh, I want to get better. And he's like, I did this right, but I didn't do this right. And he's so introspective about all of it. And that's the kind of person that always gets better.
Yeah. When I watch it back. Yeah, but by the way, Daniel Balderas, we started on the same day too. Me,
dude,
him,
that's
and
so cool.
Lynn. So like that's a class, that's pretty dope, I think. I was gonna say some crazy stuff, but I'm not. When I watch my sets back and I'm like showing my girlfriend or whatever, I like literally will pause it and be like, I said that word wrong. I flipped those were incorrect. I put that sentence in front of this sentence, which when I rehearsed it, it was supposed to be the other way. And I'm like, right here, I just lost my composure completely. Like because they didn't laugh at this, my next joke was now worse because my energy went down. Stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, dude. It takes me days to watch even a good set. Like, or in a bad set, I'm rolling across the floor away from it. Like, I'm just like,
it's painful, right?
It's so
watching
painful.
Yourself and not being happy with it.
It's so painful.
Oh my god,
I hate it, man. I hate it.
It's the worst.
Did you record yourself early on too, or?
Yeah, I was even more interested in watching myself early on. I should be recording myself now. I mean, if anybody listens to this, they need to know that the right way is to record every set and watch back every set. I mean, that is. If you really, really care about comedy and you want to make it, you should do that for every set. But, in real life, that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
Because it is difficult. And a lot of the stuff that's the hardest work of comedy is what people want to do the least. It's just like having a nice house. It's like you got to you should clean your house every day, you know, and you should dust and all that stuff. And how many people really do it and floss and stuff like that? But all of that stuff is what really is like the next level of
you attacked me
put
twice.
The work in.
You attacked me twice right there.
You know?
You said the word dust and floss.
Not floss like in rap music.
Oh,
like,
yeah, or that dance, you know, that little Fortnite
the TikTok dance, yeah.
For sure. You're right, man. It's the same thing with anything. Like when I go to the gym, I never want to hit legs. Ever.
Yeah.
It's the worst, but I realize it's the worst because it's the weakest part of my body.
You only get the results from the work you put in, you know? And comedy is just like that. If you find yourself not liking an aspect of comedy and like you're not doing it, just know that you're fucking up. You know, probably. You know, I mean, you might still be super fucking good, but you're not going to be as good as you could be. I mean, there's a lot of levels to comedy. There's the absolute, like, the icon, like, Hall of Fame, like, Mount Rushmore comics. Yes. And then, you know, there's comics that, you know, get specials and they're big and, you know, verified, you know, Chicago comics somewhere, but they're not iconic Mount Rushmore, you know. And then there's comics, you know, below them that are not at that level, that are just like, you know, they're good and they're notable and they're funny, and no one's saying they're not funny, but they haven't hit that next level yet either.
Yeah, and then like
and sometimes people just might not, you know, you might not have that thing or whatever, but you can get really fucking far through hard work.
Did you, when you started comedy, I know I was doing a little bit of research for this. I know that you didn't even like have the dream or the idea you'd ever do it, right?
Right.
It's something you kind of just stumbled into. Did you feel like you had a natural gift to make people laugh once you saw your reception early on? Because when I listen to comics who are really big, I hear a lot about having to struggle through the first 2 years of just bombing and having to find yourself and stuff of that nature. But what it sounds like is you had like a big blow up year your first year. Like I mean, from what I've heard, it sounds like your first year could have gone as great as it could have gone, you know?
Yeah, totally. I think that's true. And I think there was a lot of luck involved. And I think I didn't look at it like, oh, of course, I'm like so naturally funny. I think all of that stuff I didn't do because of ego. Like I didn't want to think about it. Like I think a lot of people presented me questions like that even my first year, and I was always pushing those questions away and just like, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. I'm really lucky. I'm really blessed. And I think there is a lot of truth to that too, that I think at the time when I came in the game, so many things fell into place for me and worked out in such a way to help me that a lot of it felt magical. And there's a lot of comics too that they've got to that next level and like the right person saw them at the right time. Yeah. And it's like they put themselves in that position and they're good and all of that stuff, but there's still sometimes like a little bit of luck involved.
Luck is just preparing for opportunity, man. That's what luck is if you're preparing and the opportunity arises and you strike on it, you can look at it as luck, but you were prepared, you were ready, and the opportunity came and you were able to make the best of it.
Well, I have a friend, and he has a successful restaurant, and he was telling me that he started out as a food truck and got to like level up to a restaurant after it became really successful and popular.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, if I didn't do it that year, he was like, and I had dropped my food truck or brought it in a couple of years later, I don't think it would have worked out the same. He was like, I got it in at the right time, and like I really resonated with that so much because I truly felt the same way about my comedy. It was like, it was the right year. I was like, I did it at the right time. The timing was good. And I was just, yeah, like you said, I mean, I'm involved in my own success, but there's also outside factors that I just feel lucky for that they were in place at the time.
Yeah. So how does it feel after a year of being a comic? So this is back in probably 2016 now. You have a roast at the Looney Bin, the place where you were taking comedy classes. You had a roast about you, man. What's that feeling like? If you go back to that day.
Dude, that was still one of the best nights of my entire life, one of the most memorable nights of my life. One of my biggest regrets is probably not having a video of the whole night. And the only reason I didn't end up getting the video was like not being sure how it was going to go. You know, I was like, well, God, like what if it goes horribly? You know, it's like you can't really prepare for a roast like that when you haven't even been doing comedy. You know, I was like almost to my first year in doing stand-up. And you know, it wasn't my idea to do the roast. I was smart to say yes to doing it. But yeah,
whose idea was it?
Billy Bizarre.
Billy Bizarre, yeah.
Yeah, and he was the biggest promoter, local promoter in the scene back then, and he worked at Looney Bin for a bit, and he performed at Looney Bin, and he had a lot of connections, and it was his idea. I was thinking about Billy the other day too, because I'm a promoter booker now, even though I don't like those titles really,
Yeah.
But Billy had a lot of great ideas in terms of like how to book shows and bring people in, and he tried all kinds of different things. He would try, let's just do 3 comics, let's do 10 comics, like let's make this the formula, or like what do we need to do to get butts in seats and to get people excited, and how do we have a good show, like what should the order look like and things like that, and all of that stuff. There's kind of an art to it, and you can always do it wrong. Like it can look good on paper, and then in real time it's like, oh shit, I probably should have had, I had this guy go first, but he should have went in the middle or whatever. And you learn from it. And sometimes it's just fucking perfect.
Oh, yeah. That's true entrepreneurship right there. You got trial and error until you figure out the formula.
Yeah, and I'm so much better at putting shows together now than I was in my first year of doing it.
How long have you been putting shows together for?
2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, minus the pandemic time, but...
And I appreciate you booking me. That's so nice of you.
Yeah, I got you, bro.
Just joking. No. I'm preparing for my first show right now.
Where are you doing it at?
Martini's Lounge. It's with Angela Teague.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm doing a show with her. What day is it?
It's a week from today. It's on the 26th.
I might be on that show.
You may be. If you're on that show, that would be beautiful.
I might be.
The 26th. Yeah, I don't know the lineup. All I know is I got to bring 5. So I'm.
You have to bring people?
No, bring 5 minutes with me.
Oh,
I can
got
do
you.
For sure.
I'm gonna look it up.
Speaking of how you said in the first year, you don't worry. I'm not gonna take you away from you looking that up. But how you
I'm on February 25th.
The day before, so
yeah.
a Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna check it out then. I work Saturdays, but I'll see what's up. Allie was gonna put me on the Tulsa showcase like my second month because I had a okay 5, but she needed 10, and I didn't have 10. What is it like when you just, I don't know where my question's going with this, but what does it feel like when you have to turn down one of those opportunities? How do you kind of get your feet back under you? Like just work harder, or like just try to understand that it's okay, I'm not ready, or what's that like?
Yeah, I did things like that before too. I remember telling a few people that I wasn't quite there yet, kind of thing, where you're like, hey, I don't think I'm ready for that.
Okay.
So that I went through that too. I think...
Sorry, that question was so...
No, it's absurd. A good question. And thinking about what you were saying about the first year, I think so many things in my life were changing that it was like overwhelming in a great way, where it wasn't just like... Comedy wasn't just like in a vacuum where it was just like, oh, I'm writing these jokes and comedy's going well. It felt like I was making all these friends and I was just like a new person. It was like the caterpillar and the butterfly, like everything was changing, like everything was different and everything was great. So the jokes were just, I wasn't really even like focused on that specifically. Like I felt like everything was just going crazy in a good way. And it was just wrapped up in comedy.
That's kind of what I was feeling earlier when I mentioned the community. Like this past few months, I've been making so many good friends that are comedians, and that alone holds more weight than how I do on my set. Like meeting somebody who I can talk to and who we can hang out. Somebody who I'm gonna know for a long time coming. Hopefully, you know what I mean. Like people like shout out like Marcus. Like he's one of my better comedian friends. Every time I see him come in, we just have a great time. And just meet people like you. That's one of the biggest opportunities alone. It's just people.
Yeah, the experiences. It's like, 1 year, nothing's really going on. You might just be going to work and going home, or going to school and going home.
Yeah.
And then the next year, it's like, oh my God, I'm doing this, show in a theater. And then I'm traveling to Arkansas for this show. And it's like all of a sudden, you're on a road trip with a couple comics. And it's just like, man, what is my life anymore? This is fucking amazing.
That's so great, dude. That really is. It's so unreal. Is it crazy how time moves so fast? Like I realized the other night I was drinking alone. Just a normal hobby of mine.
yeah. It's not weird.
Not weird at all. And I was realizing how quick time is just flying by. And I don't really have much more thought into it, but just waking up and saying to yourself, today's going to be a great day. Take it as it comes, and just trying to stay grateful through all of it. Because you can look back and realize, wait, that concert I went to with my girlfriend was 5 months ago. That's crazy. Or my first set was almost 5 months ago as well. That's just how has time gone by so quick. My first show, and like you said, looking forward to that road trip with your buddies going to Arkansas. That it's beyond comedy. You're going on a road trip with your buddies, your comedian buddies.
Just try to enjoy it. I mean, I have those kind of thoughts all the time. I mean, I did Friday night, I did a show at Tulsa Comedy Club. Mm-hmm. Saturday, last night, I did Heirloom Rustic Ale's comedy show, and then went over and did a comedy set at Thelma's Peach, like right after we did 2 shows back to back. I have another show tonight. And I was thinking, like, on Valentine's Day, I was having Valentine's brunch with my girlfriend. Yeah. And where we were having it at, I used to do comedy there back when it was the Phoenix Coffee House. And I was just like, man, I think it was about, 6 years, probably 6, maybe even 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I was in this room doing stand-up and, like, thinking about how much has changed. And, like, man, that was 6 years ago, and so many cool things have happened. But, I'd love to go back too. Mm-hmm. Like, it's great now. It was great then. But it's just, it's amazing. Like, those memories and those moments, like, you're not going to be standing in that place 5 years from now. You're just going to be seeing a picture. I actually pulled up a picture of the room we were in. Now it's the Bramble, but it used to be Phoenix Coffee House. And I was like, check this out. And I'm in a room, absolutely completely packed room doing stand-up, so where we were sitting there eating. And she was like, what the hell? Like, this is so cool. And I was like, and I could, like, remember the feeling of that night, the jokes and and I'm looking at the faces in the crowd in the picture, and I know a lot of those people still, and they're just, oh my God, look, there's TJ, and you're like, oh shit. And it's just like, what a great moment. Like, I wish it would have gone even slower.
Me too, man. Life is such as I know I'm younger, so it's weird for me to say stuff like that. But life is just it's a beautiful chaos, man. You spend all your time trying to figure it out day by day, and as you do that, if you don't take the time to appreciate what you got going on now, it's just gonna change on you. That's what it does. It continues to change, which is unreal. I would like to just wrap it up by asking you one more thing. What do you got going on now? What are you working on?
I'm constantly working on new shows.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I think that is my thing. So I'm out here, wanting to get booked, and I'm also wanting to help people get booked. So, mm-hmm. It's funny because I don't know what's going to happen, like all of this stuff. Like, I don't know which of the Tulsa comics now, might be on a TV show someday, or might, move to LA or move to Chicago or whatever. And like, I could be instrumental in people's lives, and that could be you, that I don't even understand. Like, I can't predict it. I'm just here for some reason, and I'm happy to be here, and I hope that I'm able to help people. And so much going on with me is good.
That's great.
And I'm so thankful for it that, like, I have no complaints, and I hope nobody is like, well, what about Evan? Like, please don't ever say that. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy that I'm able to help other people.
That's beautiful, man. That's awesome. Where are you going to be in the coming weeks? I think this podcast will be up in about a week. Is there any spots that you would like to shout out for people to come check you out?
I've got another Tulsa Comedy Club. It's it's a fundraiser for a women's football team called Oklahoma Rage.
Oh, cool.
And there's going to be comedian CC and some other good comics. Lacey Rains will be on that show. Midwest BJ. He's a DJ on 105.3.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a bunch of other ones that I've got in the works. March 3rd at the Vanguard is our next Vanguard show. It's full of it's an all local lineup. We had Sam Talent last month do its headline festivals and toured with Tim Dillon.
It's a lineup, and it's not open mic. It's a lineup, right?
Yes, we just call it a local showcase.
Yes, sir.
So that's what that is, and there's a bunch more.
Where can we find you on social media?
Evan B. Hughes on Instagram, Evan Hughes on Facebook, Evan Hugs on Twitter. Mm-hmm. I have a TikTok, but I don't really get on there, so don't worry about that one. But yeah, I put all the flyers on on Instagram and Facebook, and Twitter has the flyers sometimes. But yeah, find me out. Instagram's my favorite.
I'm sorry, this is so dumb. I've never done this before, but could you look in camera one and say thank you to Blue Couch Studio, please?
This one right here?
Yes, sir.
Thank you to Blue Couch Studio.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
I got you, bro.
It really was.
Thank you for having me.